Isaiah 14 and 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and salutations to all you brothers out there pushing this word in love, truth, sincerity, and humility. Once again, it's the brother Shathi from the Chicago camp coming back to you with what I hope is another quick and edifying sit down. Once again, this is Isaiah 14 and 12. It says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? And this precept was inspired by a video segment by the young lady Lisa Cabrera, and it was entitled Undercounting the Opioid Plague. Now, what you're about to listen to is an article that she read that was talking about how the gatekeepers, the people who own your newspapers, your magazines, and your other media outlets, how they are undercounting the number of people hooked on opiates and the number of people dying from opiates to help preserve their image. So we're going to let this video play. We're going to get some precepts and close this on out.
Those of you that watched my video yesterday know that the article that I did projected that 44 million people in the U.S. over an 18-year period have died from opioids. And you notice they always give us these 70,000, 60,000, 50-something thousand. Those are just 22 states that are reporting to the CDC. So the other 28 states are not giving them any information. So, ladies and gentlemen, another reason, so when you break down, before I even get to my next point, when you break down the 44 million deaths between the ages of 15 and 64, which were drug deaths, that comes out to 2.5 million, right? And even that 2.5 million, ladies and gentlemen, is an undercount. And let me explain why. They don't have to put drugs as a cause of death. Even if that really was the cause of death, I have done stories where families requested the coroner's office not to put drug death on the death certificate, although that person really did die from a drug death. So once they do that, that person that really died from an overdose is now not counted as a drug death at all.
Yep. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, one of my first gigs when I got out of college, I used to pick up dead bodies for a private contractor here in Chicago, and talking to the people who did the medical examiner investigations, being around a lot of police officers, they let me know, and I've seen firsthand that they control the statistics. They, meaning bad Uncle Esau, they control the statistics. Okay. They want to make it seem like homicides are down in Chicago when they're really not. Okay. They gave the excuse as, well, let's say if somebody gets shot, we won't necessarily say that it was a homicide because he didn't die there. We'll just say that he just died of what they call insanguination, meaning he just bleeds to death. They won't rule it a homicide. They say, well, that was really the cause of death, not the fact that Tay Tay and Man Man just got shot up 10 times in the chest. All right. They're not going to list it as that. The same way when it comes to these well-to-do Edomites that are along the lakefront, just off of downtown, uh, the Boys Town area, so on and so forth. All right. You have a lot of suicides in those areas, but they don't list it as drug overdose because it's usually a drug overdose. They'll just say something along the lines where maybe it was alcohol, not maybe, but they might list it as alcohol poisoning, or they'll just say, well, they didn't commit suicide. They just had a liver shutdown, and they'll list it as that. Not to mention that a lot of these news media outlets here in Chicago, they're in bed with many of the politicians and the mayor in the city of Chicago. They are on a gag order to not report any murders or suicides in those areas. Not at all. Channel 2, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 32. All these stations are completely prohibited for listing any type of homicide or suicide in those areas unless it's so high profile that they can't ignore it. This is facts. And what Lisa Cabrera is saying is very much true. These people manipulate the numbers strictly for their benefit so that they can maintain that facade of pride and Edomite supremacy. Let's continue.
So no matter how you look at it, even that 44 million is an undercount. Remember the actress that played Princess Leia? She died from drugs, but the family didn't want that on her death certificate, so it wasn't put there. It was put some other reason, and I can't remember right offhand, but hers didn't count as a drug death, although it was a drug death. So even when they give us the 44 million, y'all, it's not a real true count. It's way higher than that. You know, always look at the action of the people. Don't worry about their words. Their words are irrelevant. Watch their actions. Their actions are giving it away. Their actions are proving that this is far worse than we can even imagine. You know, just like the crack epidemic. If you remember during the crack epidemic, damn near all of us knew someone directly or indirectly, people in our families, friends, people that live on your street, people you used to work with died of crack. We all knew someone. Well, it's the same way with the white community. They know people that have died. They know family, friends, or even someone that they heard about that they may not have known that well. It's the same thing. But this opioid plague has far exceeded anything that has occurred in the U.S. This is by far the worst. And there's no end in sight. And it's not going to be. And this is why. What broke the crack epidemic, ladies and gentlemen, was mass incarceration. As soon as they start mass incarcerating the crack addicts, it broke the epidemic. The crack epidemic did not go on for 20 years like the opioid plague is. Actually, this is the 21st year. It didn't go on this long. It got broken by mass incarceration. And that's pretty much how it ended in the black community.
Yep. And Lisa has a very good point there. All right. You have to think about it. When you purposely put a drug into the community to get your enemies, uh, uh, how should I say, mentally unstable and physically hooked on a substance that they're not supposed to be on. And then at the same time, you lock them up for putting the drugs in the same community. What do you expect to happen? The same people that you get hooked on the crack and you lock up, if you keep locking up those same people at the rate that you dishing out the crack, then how do you continue to have a epidemic? Because granted, yeah, they do drugs in prison to a certain degree, but it's not like it is out on the street. For the most part, a lot of them guys, if they on any type of drugs, they got to go cold turkey. But they gotta remember that that's what they did to us. But now, since the shoe's on the other foot, they can't do that. They don't want to do that. Because if they were to start incarcerating and putting Edomites in jail the way they was doing Jake, okay, you would see a whole lot less Edomites out here on these streets. You would notice that it'll probably be the CEOs of these many companies, these partners, Joe Blow sitting next to the cubicle, next to you, next to the guy at the meat packing plant. All right, the nurses and doctors at the hospitals that were a whole lot of people would be getting locked up and they can't do it. And it's a beautiful thing because now the Lord has made this whole thing turn back around on their heads. That's why when you go to Galatians 6 and 7, let me get that. 6 and 7, it says, "Be not deceived. The Most High is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall reap. See, he who soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting." Okay, so back in the days with this crack epidemic, see, you put that in our community because you were dead set in using that to completely destroy us. And it damn near did, and not for a lack of trying. Okay, you had many crack babies, you had many single parent household, you had many men that went to jail, you had many women that start going out and prostituting themselves. All right, that's why I say not for a lack of trying. You did destroy a lot of families. But now the Lord has made it so that now you're suffering from a drug epidemic. And the beautiful thing about this is it's being done by your own kinsmen. All right. The opioid epidemic can first and foremostly be placed on these Edomite doctors and these folks that run the pharmaceutical industry. Because you have to remember, Jake didn't have access to opioids like that. We didn't have doctors that would write prescriptions for oxycodone and oxycontin and fentanyl, morphine. All right. Those doctors was like, fuck you niggas, you can just be in pain. We're going to give these drugs to our people. So guess what happens? After years and years of continuing that and seeing how lucrative it was, now you have rich doctors, rich pharmaceutical companies, and you got strung out Edomite families. Because after a while, you get so hooked on it that you can't get off. And the thing is, these doctors didn't tell these people that when they do these drugs, they get hooked on it. So now they just dropping like flies. All right. Because the Lord saw what you were doing to us and he was very displeased. How did he say? I was sorely displeased at the heathen. Let me see if I can get that. Because, let's see, displeased at the heathen. Let me see. Let's see. Sorely displeased at the heathen. Yeah. Zechariah 1:15. And it says, I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. Now, this is all the nations. Okay, when you go into Psalm 83, it lists all the other nations that the Lord is displeased with, that had a hand in our downfall. But you have to remember the main heathen, our main adversary, is bad Uncle Esau, the so called white man. And you better believe the Most High is displeased with him. As the Lord said, he's angry with the wicked every day. And we all know that bad Uncle Esau is the wicked, according to Job 9:24 and Malachi 1:3 and 4. And it says that are at ease. And how is he at ease? Because he's in his kingdom right now. Granted, the sun is about to set on his kingdom, but you have to remember, even when the sun sets, it still shows a glimpse of light even as it's about to set. And this is what you have on Esau's kingdom. There's still a little bit of light left, for lack of a better phrase. Okay. And it says, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Because after slavery, you all doubled down on us, and you've continued to double down on us. Okay. It's like slavery wasn't bad enough. Then you had to go to lynching and burnings. And then if draconian law wasn't enough and abortion wasn't enough, you're like, I got a good idea. We'll give them crack and heroin. That's definitely going to do it. But see, now we go back to that Galatians 6 and 7. All right. What you all put in front of us to destroy us, the Lord's bringing the same thing back around on you all. And it's taking you all out in such a vicious number that now your numbers are very, very low. Okay. Basically, you're a dog that's all bark and no bite. You have no teeth anymore. All right, you just merely have the facade now. Because if the world truly knew how low your numbers were, they would probably revolt right now. That's why the scripture says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning star? How thou come as weak as we? Because you have to remember, man, 40, 50 some years ago, Esau was very mighty as far as numbers, economy, status, mentality. Esau was very mighty. Now you fast forward, good 50 some years, it's the complete opposite. Esau stressed out, doped out, sprung out, everything. The nation of Edom is a hot mess right now. And it's all thanks to the spirit and power, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. He has systematically brought this devil to his knees so far to the point where now these folks are desperate and they're just like, what the hell can we do? And the truth of the matter is, you devils can't do a damn thing about it. Because this is what the Most High has ordained, and this is what you get for touching the apple of his eye. And you better believe this thing is only going to get worse as the economy worsens, as your women keep leaving you for us. It's going to be a beautiful sight to watch your systematic destruction and your soon to be complete fall from grace. So once again, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and salutations to all you brothers out there pushing this word in love, truth, sincerity, and humility. With that, we're going to say shalom.